Hey y'all, I'm here to review the Michel'le story. Hold on, I'm trying to move this thing over so I can see. Okay, here to review Survivor Compton, Dre, Suge, and Michel'le. Honestly, I'm gonna say this in the beginning, I'm gonna say this in the end. This is one of the best Lifetime biopics that I've seen in a while, because we all know Lifetime has a way of doing these biopics and they leave us like the Leo biopic, garbage. The Toni Braxton biopic, garbage. The Whitney Houston biopic wasn't bad, but it shouldn't have been called Whitney. It should have been called Whitney and Bobby. Like, a lot of these biopics be like heavily fabricated and whack. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not going to sit up here and lie. But Michel'le's biopic tonight was really, really, really good. I'm glad from what it looks like, what makes this biopic different than other biopics. Because, the Toni Braxton biopic, Toni Braxton had her hands, she was hands-on with it. But it was bland. It was boring to me. And, if you disagree, that's on you. This is my opinion. But this biopic, it seems like Michel'le told her story the way she wanted it to be told and not the way that Lifetime told her to tell it. With other biopics, I feel like Lifetime tells them to tell their story the way that they want them to. And it seems like Michel'le had all creative control on this biopic. This was a really good biopic. It had a lot of life lessons and a lot of truth as far as domestic violence goes. So I'll just go through the movie and talk about, I have a lot of notes, but, it's not a lot. It looks like a lot, but it's really not a lot. I'm just talking about, like, the key stuff that happened in the movie. Some stuff that was just plain sad. Some stuff that was, like, a little bit, worthy. But, it basically starts off with how Michel'le got her start, and she's at work and she's singing or whatever. And who was the guy? His name was Alonzo something. I forgot his last name. But basically, he basically discovered her in a store where she was working and wants her to come and record a record because the original girl that they had to record dropped out at the last possible minute. So, that's basically how she got her start in music. She wasn't really interested in music, but she did like to sing. She wasn't really singing for an audience. She was singing for herself. So he takes her to the studio, and as soon as she talks, they're making fun of her. Dre is making fun of her. He's talking about, this bitch sound like Minnie Mouse or whatever. And she's like, well, you're being very rude. And if, I can't, what's the point of me singing the song? Screw this song and screw you. So, the rest of them are like, nah, give her a chance. And then they put her in the studio and they heard her sing and they were all blown away. So, Dre apologized and he reintroduced himself. They went out to eat. They were talking, whatever. So basically, she said for the next 3 weeks, Dre would call every morning, 9 o'clock in the morning on the nose, just to say good morning, just to, give her sweet messages and whatnot. It was her and it was Dre and Eazy-E just fighting for her affection or whatever. So next thing you know, like, her and Dre, they start like a little budding relationship. But he gets a phone call and it's a girl on the phone that's like, oh, I'm about to have your baby. So Dre tells her, oh, that was Val. She's having my baby. Excuse me. She's having my baby or whatever. And, Michel'le is just like, go handle your business. I'm like, what? But you supposed to be his girl, whatever. Okay, whatever. Like, that kind of, like, mind-boggled me. So, after the baby was born or whatever, Michel'le is driving with Dre in her car, and he's knocked out in the car. So, when her grandmother comes to the door, and she sees Dre sleeping in the car, she's like, listen, if he's asleep in the car, oh, Alonzo Williams, that's his name, because I see the beyond the headlines. Oh my goodness, beyond the headlines right now. Alonzo Williams. I'm mad I forgot his last name in the beginning, but whatever. So the grandmother is like, well, he must have a baby somewhere if he's sleeping in the car like that. That's the only time a man sleeps in the car. So she said, my grandmother was right. Right after he had the first baby, he had another one. So Dre comes and he's trying to tell her, listen, those girls mean nothing to me or whatever. And she's like, well, how many kids do you have all around? He's like, listen, it takes 9 months to make a baby. Do the math. Me and you only been together for 5. So she's like, so you have how many kids now? He's like, 3, plus Val's baby and this baby. So she's like 5. Altogether, you got 5 kids. And he's like, yeah, I think so. Like you did. And she's like, well, now who doesn't know their math or whatever? And I'm like, dang, Dre? Like, really? Like, you basically had project twins, like, really? So then it goes from that conversation to him buttering her up and talking about their future and all and how they're going to get out the streets of Compton and all of that if she were him. And I'm sitting here like, yo, Michel'le, you really believe this stupid, like this BS he's feeding you? So they're at, I think, a club or something like that, performing something. And Dre is there talking to his baby mother, Val, and they're arguing. They tell Dre to come and sit in on the meeting. So Dre, after leaving that, goes to Val's house, beats up the dude that's there. Mind you, he pulls the dude out in his little tighty whities. I'm like, oh my God, this is hilarious. So Michel'le is telling him to stop. He beats the dude up. Val and the dude go back in the house. Him and Michel'le drive off or whatever. So next we get to when Michel'le meets Suge for the first time, and she doesn't like the vibe she gets from Suge. She's like, every time he's around, it just feels like, there's just evil all over the place, which is usually when you get a vibe like that, you run. But everything was falling into place for her. Her music career, life was good. She was signed as Ruthless Records' first female artist. So, Easy is like, flirting with her because, at this time, Easy had a crush on her. So Easy is telling her, listen, how would you feel about being an artist? And she's like, I haven't really thought about it, but, are you serious? Like, you want me to record? You want me to sing something? And he's like, yeah, just go get me your material and we could start recording. So she's walking around trying to write or whatever, and she comes across a thong, like lace panties or something in her couch. So she finds the panties, and then Dre comes in that night while she's sleeping. And he's like, you sleeping? She's like, mm-hmm. So he says, did you make anything to eat? And she's like, yeah, I left you something in the oven. So he goes in the oven to get the food. He takes the lid off the pot or whatever, and the same panty she found is in the food. She baked it with the food. So, Dre is like, oh, shoot. Like, she busted me. So this inspired her to record No More Lies, which was like one of her biggest hits. And that's, so she recorded that and she went ham on that song. Like, basically, it was a diss track to Dre. And Dre was not pleased with it. He was very angry. And she asked him how he felt about it, and he blew smoke in her face and just walked away. So Jerry is like, listen, you don't have to deal with this, just, you need to leave Dre alone. You know how Dre is or whatever. And she's like, listen, all dreams cost something. And, this is my dream, and I love what I do, but all dreams cost something. So she's in bed, and he comes home drunk, And she's like, oh, I'm glad you're here. You know, I was worried about you. And he just holds off and starts beating her ass like she is a man. Like, punched her like mad times. It looked like he busted her nose. Like, he beat the crap out of her. And then he started crying. She's sitting there in shock, and he starts crying. And, you know, while all of this is going on, the real Michel'le is there, and she's saying, you know, she's like doing a voice, not a voiceover, but, you know, she's explaining the situation. And that's what I liked about this movie too. The fact that Michel'le would come out like at certain times in her life, like I guess certain moments in her life, she would come out and she would speak about the situation and how she feels about it now. So she came out at this time and she's like, he's laying there and he's crying. He's in pain, but I'm the one with the black eyes and whatnot. And, you know, I should have left him then, but I loved him, you know, and I'm just, you know, she's like, I was both terrified and grateful that Dre loves me. And I'm like, this is deep, because this is how a lot of women who go through domestic violence and don't want to leave the dude, this is exactly how they feel. They feel like being with the man, because he beats on them and he screams on them and he's physically, mentally, and emotionally abusive, they feel like, oh, he loves me. It's only jealousy because he cares. No, it's not. It's like, it's like very, very, like, it's confusing for them. And, you know, it's sad because that's how a lot of women think when it comes to domestic violence. That's exactly how they think, and it's scary. So she's in the, you know, she comes in the studio. People could clearly see that Dre put his hands on her. So, you know, she's in the studio. Everybody's looking at her like with the side eye. And she goes in the studio and she tries to sing. So Dre is screaming at her while she's trying to record Something in My Heart. But she wasn't singing it right because she's upset. She's scared, you know. So Dre is like, you better sing. At this moment, I felt like he was Ike Turner. I know a lot of y'all have seen What's Love Got to Do with It. At this moment, I felt like he was Ike Turner. Like, sing the song like I told you to sing it, Anime. Because he went in there and he was like, you better sing this song right, or I'm going to make you feel. He was like, you better feel this song. I'm going to make you feel it when we get home and when we get in the car. And she's like, I can't work like this, Dre. Like, this is too much. And he's like, you better sing the song like I told you to sing it, Anime. I'm like, oh, Dre, you were evil. So, you know, she sings the song, and it is what it is. So at this time, she's, you know, she started self-medicating to ease the pain. Now, Easy is trying to help the situation, but there's not really much he can do, you know, because Dre is he's on 10. So she basically self-medicated to numb the pain. Like, Easy is like, you know, they're trying to film her nicety video, and Dre is telling her how to dress, and she doesn't want to dress like that, so Dre is like roughing her up and smacking her around on set, and Easy is like, yo, we gotta put a stop to this. So when Michel'le was home, she was in the tub. Easy called her and he's like, listen, Dre is on some next ish. He's about to come home drunk, and you know he's coming for you. Your best bet, get the hell up out of that house. So she got up out the tub, went and got her alcohol and her pills, and was taking them, and basically was preparing herself to get the crap beat out of her by Dre. Sad. That is sad when you gotta self-medicate to numb the pain of getting your ass beat every night, like you're expecting it. That is sad, and that's scary. And, you know, Michel'le, the real Michel'le, comes out again, and she's like, why didn't I leave him? You know, maybe I thought it was love, but at the same time, I didn't know what love was, which is a real honest thing. And that's what a lot of women don't realize, that love is not, abuse is not love, and love is not abuse. So Jerry presents her with the opportunity to venture off on her own tour with MC Hammer. I think she headlined with MC Hammer on his tour. Dre was going on his own tour. So she said that she felt like without Dre being there, you know, she could live on her own terms. She had people around her who cared about her and loved her. So one night when she came in from, I guess, hanging out with people on the tour, Dre surprises her in her hotel room. So he's like, who were you with? Like, asking jealous questions. And she's like, listen, we all went out to eat. What do you expect for me to do? Eat alone? And he's like, nah, you look good. You put on some pounds or whatever. And he's like, you put on some pounds right here. He touches her stomach. She finds out she's pregnant. She's not, sure how to feel about it, and she's like, this is not the right time to have a baby. She tells Dre is actually excited, and he's like, yeah, why don't you keep the baby? So she wasn't sure. She's like, I don't think this is the right time, maybe in a few years, but I don't think this is the right time to have a baby. And he's like, you talking about killing my child? So she kept the baby. And when her tour ended, when she was still on tour, and by the time she finished the tour, she was 3.5 months pregnant with their son. So she came home a day early to surprise Dre, gets in bed, and there's some next chick in the bed. Her and the chick start fighting. So that night, her and Dre is laying in the bed, and not laying in the bed. They're in the kitchen, they're talking, and he's like, she's like, you really had some next chick in the house. You moved her in. He's like, listen, she was just here temporarily. I'm like, this is really the conversation that chicks have when they man cheat on them. Like, I'm just so mind boggled by this whole thing. Like, I'm like, really? Like, he had some next chick in the bed and y'all really having a conversation like nothing just happened? Like, you didn't just fight this chick? Like, you not, 3 months pregnant with his baby right now? Okay. So he tells her that he wants to marry her, and she's like, well, will marrying me make you stop being, stop chasing all these women? And he's like, listen, we are who we are. That's an excuse right there. So after the baby is born, he gets a house in Calabasas, but she said the house felt like a token and not a home. Like, basically, it felt like it was just for him. Like, it wasn't for them. Like, it wasn't for a family. Like, it was just another prize for him and another way to control her. So, he's going off about missing money and whatnot, and he's upset with Jerry and all of them. So she goes out to the mailbox, and he has stacks and stacks of mail, with the money and everything. So, she's having a birthday party. She's cooking or whatever, and Suge Knight is there. Suge Knight is basically like, Suge Knight was basically there, like, for business. Basically, stating that they're gonna be going off and making their own record label and whatnot. So he gives Michel'le a necklace, and Michel'le tells Tashina Arnold, who's her friend, Pam from Martin, in case y'all don't know, tells her to take the necklace off. She's like, I don't want nothing that has to do with him around my neck. So now Dre, he's like, I got beef with Ruthless. And she's like, well, Easy and Jerry, they're our friends. And he's like, F them. F them. If you gonna be with me, you gonna be with me, da-da-da. So he pulls, no, Michel'le is like, so that chain that Suge Knight gave me earlier, that was to buy me? And he's like, no, it's not to buy you. We're just trying to work on our own record label, and you need to be with me on this. He pulls out a gun on her and fires a shot towards her. And then the baby starts crying. And he's like, get this baby and get the baby quiet. What kind of mother are you? And I'm like, what kind of father are you? You just pulled a gun out on this girl. I'm like, yo, this movie is legit crazy. Like, I'm just sitting here watching this movie like, yo, I really can't. So now that Dre has left Ruthless Records and Jerry and Easy and all of them behind, him and Suge Knight start Death Row. So they're having, I guess, a party at the house again. And, Michel'le is like, well, I got to thug-proof the house because they are just making a mess. The house doesn't stay clean. So this chick approaches Michel'le, and she's like, oh, you Michel'le? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, oh, your man wants a threesome or whatever. And she's like, well, tell him he could screw himself twice. So she tells her, the only reason why Dre likes you is because you keep the house clean. So I'm like, oh. So the girl goes off, and she's, sleeping with somebody else. And Suge Knight is like, get all these people out this man's house or whatever. So Suge Knight basically was made to look like, you know, an angel in disguise, if you will. So one night when they were in the studio, I think after Tupac was recording, Michel'le reveals to Pac that she feels confined, like she feels caged, and that her dreams are so far away. So once she was in the house, and next thing you know, the lights go out. So she's like, well, I haven't seen Dre for weeks. I have no money, no food, no diapers, no nothing. And we're in the dark right now. He forgot to pay the light bill. So please, Suge, if you get in touch with him, tell him that I need to talk to him. So, you know, next thing you know, she hears a knock at the door. No, she sees a car pulls up, and then she hears a knock at the door, and it's Suge there with groceries. So he's like, you know, I know Dre is a beast in the studio, but he don't need to, he shouldn't be dogging you like this. So he's like, listen, I'm gonna take care of you. I'm gonna make sure you got whatever it is that you need. So you know, she starts self-medicating again, and you know, just not caring. She said she felt like she just needed a well-needed vacation from life. So she's having some party where she's drinking and taking her prescription drugs, but her son is there and he's playing with his toys. So some guy approaches her and he's like, listen, you know, you Michel'le, when I was locked up, your music got me through. Your music kept me sane in there. Next thing you know, gunshots ring out. She's running to her son looking for her son. Her son is hiding under the table. So this guy walks up to her and he puts a gun to her head, and the guy that she was talking to was like, no, not her, that's my friend, you know, let's be out. So she runs to her son and goes under the table. So then she goes to the studio and she tells Dre, listen, I need to go to rehab. I need to get clean. Like, you know, it's too much. I need help. Dre is just tossing her to the side to my son. Take an aspirin and drink a 7-Up, and that always works. She's like, no, Dre, I need to get clean. So because Dre kept refusing it, Suge approaches her and he's like, listen, I'll send you to rehab, but you have to do the work. You have to get clean, and you have to, you know, don't call nobody when you're at rehab. Take care of yourself, but you have to do the work. So she agrees to it. She goes to the rehab. She said that she got sober, clean, and healthy, and she felt better. So now she's back home, and her grandmother feels remorse about teaching her the wrong thing about men. First of all, her grandmother throughout this whole movie was basically being an enabler. Every time Michel'le would tell her about Dre putting her hands on her, grandmother's like, oh, you know, that's just a man's nature for him to hit you. You know, it don't mean nothing. You just got to deal with it. And it's sad because that's how most women feel. And then what people need to realize is it's a generational thing. Her own grandmother doesn't even know her self-worth. So she's teaching her granddaughter about, you know, not knowing her self-worth. And it was sad. I was getting pissed off at her grandmother because I'm like, you are teaching this girl the wrong. That's why she's allowing all of this stuff that's happening to her. That's why she allows it, because she thinks it's okay. So, you know, her grandmother's like, I feel very bad. I think I've been teaching you the wrong things about men. She's like, don't ever let a man take your self-worth from you. Don't ever let a man put their hands on you again. So I think Tashina was like, well, that new chick he with is going, you know, get all of your money or something like that. So Michel'le is like, what? So Tashina talks to Mimi and she's like, oh, you didn't tell her? And she's like, tell me what? Dre got engaged while you were in rehab. She's like, listen, I don't want anything from Dre. Congratulations to him. I no longer care. The best thing about Dre is over there and he's playing with his toys and whatnot. So, you know, it seemed like Michel'le was getting a little bit of empowerment. So then Dre comes and he stops at her house and he tells her that he's starting a new record label because he doesn't want to be affiliated with Suge. So Dre is like, you know, I'm starting Aftermath and I want you to join. And she's like, and then what? You know, so when she doesn't want to do it, she's like, Dre, go home to your wife. And, you know, he's like, well, is it really going to end like this? And she's like, yeah, it's over. And then close the door. So then when she closed the door, you know, she went on about her business. And then Suge knocks on the door. And he has flowers for her. He tells her she looks beautiful. He gives her flowers or whatever. And then he picks her up and he whisks her off. So, you know, she's like, a lot of people think I slept with Suge, you know, as revenge to Dre, which wasn't true. And then she said, a lot of people think I slept with him to you know, basically business-wise, like to help with her career. And she's like, that wasn't true either. She said, Suge offered me, you know, security, support, and that's something I needed at the moment. I slept with Suge because I wanted to. So she's like, you know, Dre offered, you know, great sex, but he had a lot of issues, hidden baby mamas and all that. She said Suge offered limited sex. I think the only thing she said he had was a wife or something like that. So she was just like weighing the pros and cons of being with Suge versus Dre. So, you know, after they found out that Tupac was shot and killed, that was the same time that Suge violated his parole because of a fight or something like that the night that he got killed. So, he goes to jail for, I think, 5 years. And then he sends, like, security to watch the house because the house that she's staying at is Suge's house. So there's, like, hard security on the house. And he's, like, telling the security guards, oh, let her manage death row. I'll pay her $30,000 a month. You know, Michel'le doesn't know what to do. So basically, she has to abide by rules and regulations. She has to see him weekly, on weekends. And, you know, it's just rules and regulations. She can't go nowhere. She has to cut off ties with her grandmother. All of that. Like, she felt like a prisoner. Like, she felt like she was doing the time with him. So when she went to go see him for a visit, she went a day early because I think she said her son's birthday was on a day that she wanted to do like a party or something like that. So she went a day early. And when she went, she ran into Suge's other chick on the visit. And the girl is like, oh, this is my day. It's been my day for a year. And she's like, your day? And she's like, yeah. Suge always told me that he would take Dre's business and Dre's bitch and all of that. And then I'm like, whoa. So, you know, she's like, you ain't nothing but a trophy. Suge don't really want you. So then they kick the other girl out because, mind you, Suge is paying Michel'le $30,000. So basically, he's buying Michel'le's affection and he's using her to his advantage. So when she goes on the visit, she's like, you know, I don't think I could do this anymore. You know, I don't think, you know, the any day is fine, but Thursday through Sunday is not good for me. And he's like, but I'm paying you $30,000. She's like, yeah, but it's just too much. You know, it's too much. And then, you know, your chick, I'm here on your other chick's day. And he's like, well, she married too. She ain't, you know, that's her day. She married too. So then he says to her, you know, he said something. Basically, it was a threat. And he was saying something to the effect of, you got your grandmother, you got Marcel, you know, Dre's son, the great Dre's son. You got Tashina. You know, who all do you love? Wasn't Marcel playing T-ball today at 4 p.m.? Like saying it as a threat, like if you don't do what I ask you to do, I'm gonna take the most precious thing from you, which is your son. So then right then and there, Michel'le agrees to be there on Thursdays through Sunday because her hands is tied. She can't do nothing. This man is watching her, even outside of prison. So then he's like, I think you should marry me. And she's like, what? So he's like, yeah, you should marry me so we could meet every week at the cottage. So she went and she married him. She was like, you know, the good ship Lollipop has now become the Titanic. So basically it was like a marriage just for financial gain or whatever. Let me see. So she marries him. And when he came home from jail, you know, she was celebrating because the fact that he's coming home, that means she no longer has to be married to him. She doesn't have to be bound to his rules or whatever. So next thing you know, Death Row is going through financial struggles and whatnot. So she's like, hey, listen, my album was never finished with when I was working with Dre. Why don't we use my album to help with sales or whatever? Because it's been shelved or whatever. He's like, don't nobody care about that album. So, you know, he backhanded her and like knocked the black off of her. So it sent her in an ambulance. So he went to her and he's like, listen, I ain't tell him nothing. I told them that we was playing football and you got hit in the face with a pass. Don't tell them nothing. And I'm like, you really think they gonna believe she got hit in the face with a football? As big as you are, you think they gonna believe that she got hit in the face with a football? So she found out she was pregnant with Bailey. She had the baby. And he ended up going back to jail, I think, for 6 months. And while he was in jail, she finds out that she was never legally married to Suge. So when Suge got out, she confronts him. And she's like, you lying, dirty thug, you bastard. So everything is fake. The contracts is fake. The marriage is fake. Everything is fake with you. And he's like, you know, you're a dumb bitch and da-da-da-da. You know, you can't do nothing without me. You living in my house. I gave you everything. So so she was like, I can go to the police and I can tell them every damn thing. And he's like, you know what happens to people when they threaten me, right? So he pulls a gun out on her. Again, this reminded me of what's love got to do with it. Because remember at the end, when Ike pulled the gun out on Tina, Tina was like, what you gonna do? Shoot me? Pistol whip me? Go ahead, Ike. You know what? There's people out there who come to see me. Come to see me, Ike. And you gonna pull a gun out on me? I'm supposed to be scared? I ain't scared. That's what it felt like. Like, this scene was very reminiscent of what's love got to do with it. And she said, so you gonna shoot me? I'm not scared of you, Suge Knight. It's your turn to be scared. Because I can expose you for everything. And when she said that, Suge had a look on his face like, oh, she ain't scared of me. She ain't playing. So she turned around. She left. Then the scene went to her talking to her daughter, and she's like, don't ever let a man hit you. Don't ever let him control you. You have your own. You hold your own. You be your own person. And she's like, I have to do better for you and your brother. So it went from that to the real Michel'le singing her song. I guess it's called I'm Still Standing, something like that. But it was a beautiful song. And as she's singing, not credits, but it read that Suge is awaiting trial for murder. Dr. Dre apologized to the woman he's hurt last year after Straight Outta Compton came out. It said that Michel'le is touring and recording an album. Her kids are happy and thriving. And she's singing the song. She has pictures of herself in the back while she's singing, a choir coming out. And then she's like, I'm just glad to still be standing here. And then it ended on that note. So all in all, I have to say, this was one of the best biopics that I have seen from Lifetime. And I am glad that Michel'le had because that's what it looked like. She had all creative control in this biopic. This was a really good biopic. I am very proud of her for telling her story because we heard, bits and pieces of her story from watching R&B Divas LA. But to see it come to fruition was really, really good. And let me say this. The actress who played her, Ryan Nicole Brown, that's the girl who played Lizzie on Lincoln Heights, in case you didn't know. She also played the young, what was her name in the movie? I forgot her name in the movie. But if y'all ever seen Get Rich or Die Trying, she played the young girl there. It was another movie she played in too. She played in like a lot of movies. But Ryan Nicole Brown, excellent actress, and she did very well in this movie. She did very well in this movie. And the guy who played Dr. Dre looked a lot like, he reminded me of Lil Romeo mixed with, Wesley Jonathan a little bit. That's who he reminded me of. The whole time I was watching this movie, I'm like, oh, they could have got Lil Romeo to play Dr. Dre if they wanted to. Because he reminded me of Dr. Dre a lot. I mean, duh, he reminded me of Dr. Dre. He reminded me of Lil Romeo and Wesley Jonathan mixed together, you know. So, I mean, the guy who played Eazy-E didn't really like Eazy-E to me. The guy who played Tupac looked like Tupac somewhat. He just had a bigger head, and Tupac's head wasn't that big to me. But he did a good job playing Tupac. And the one who played Cube, he looked like Cube a little bit, you know. If you had to compare it to the characters from Straight Outta Compton, you know, there's like a difference in resemblance, obviously. But I feel like this was a really good biopic. It really did answer a lot of questions that Straight Outta Compton didn't answer, because somebody had told me that Michel'le was in Straight Outta Compton, but when I saw her, she wasn't in it, like, at all. They ain't even mention her. So, you know, when I was watching the Beyond the Headlines after the Michel'le movie, she was basically saying that they left her out. She was like, they can't write me out of history, though, so this is why I'm telling my story. So, you know, and her story was good. She basically, because, you know, in Straight Outta Compton, they tried to clean it up. Like, they talked about the trials and the tribulations of the group, but they didn't talk about the dark side, which was this. And Michel'le covered all of that. So she filled in the blanks or whatever. And now I'm hearing that Dr. Dre is going to sue her if he's portrayed negatively, like defamation of character in the movie. But you can't get mad if that's the person's truth. You know, like, if that's what she went through with you, then just own that. And then you apologize for hurting them, because she wasn't the only woman you beat. You beat on D Barnes, too, because D Barnes did some segment where Ice Cube said something about you, and you just beat the brakes over her, and people witnessed that. So just own it. But all in all, I'm proud of Michel'le for this biopic. It was a really good biopic. I enjoyed watching it. It was very sad to watch, but a lot of women who watch this biopic are going to feel proud. They're going to feel inspired. They're going to feel empowered. So I tip my hat to Michel'le. I'm very proud of her for this biopic. And if you haven't seen Surviving Compton, watch it soon. It's one of the best biopics that Lifetime has ever made, because we all know their biopics could get pretty trashy, but this was a really good biopic, and I'm very proud of Michel'le. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know how you felt about it. Please like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.